Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing some wet sanding on the body of the Relic guitar. Now I've already did a little bit of this off camera, so let me just recap real quickly what we're doing here. First off, the first thing I did was I took a little CA glue or crazy glue, and I just lightly dripped some in every hole that is exposed on the body. And all I'm doing was just sort of getting it around the outside of the hole and just letting it seep in. I'm not trying to fill the hole specifically, but if it does fill the hole a little bit, that's okay. You can just take a toothpick or a guitar string and just poke it in there so it's not plugging the hole completely. But even if it does plug the hole, it's not the end of the world. When you go to rescrew the pick guard and stuff back in, it's going to go right through that. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't want the water from the wet sanding to get underneath the paint, between the wood and the paint, and then it starts to creep underneath and you get those like spider web kind of lines happening. So that's what I've done here, and also on the back as well. I took the ferrules out here where the strings go through, and you can see there was a couple that I had some trouble getting out, and they actually broke through the finish. This little piece broke right off here, and this little piece just sort of cracked up a little bit, make like a little chip, but didn't break off 100%. And same with this final one on the end here, a little bit of a chip came off. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little better. And those ferrules, I was just having a little trouble getting them out. And when I was tapping them out from the other side, I guess I hit it too hard and it had broke away on the paint. So I was trying to fix this. Like I was just going to re-glue in the chip because the whole piece came out as one piece. So you could try and fix it, but I was trying to get it in there and I was just having a hell of a time getting it to stay. And when you do that, it's never going to be 100% because it's always going to be raised up a little bit. And when I'm going to be wet sanding over all this stuff, you can sort of see it happening over here where the right around here, that's where those little raised up sections are. Now this particular one sanded pretty smooth. This piece here, it was more than likely going to just come right off again. So I just decided, you know what, let's just leave it off. This guitar is supposed to be a Relic guitar, so I am not going to sweat the little things like this that happen. All I did was the same thing. I just applied a little CA glue in all these locations just to seal the area so the water won't get in there while I'm wet sanding. And I'm just going to leave it. And I've already done the whole body with 600 grit. And as you can see on the back here, it's a little easier to see because it's all one flat surface. I did the whole body with the sandpaper, and let me just zoom you out so you can see the whole guitar here. So I've sanded the entire body, and I took my sanding block. I'm just using this foam piece I have, and this foam piece has got a stiffer side, the blue side here, and this white side is a lot softer. Okay, so initially I'm using the blue side because it's got a harder surface on it, and I used the 600 grit, and I did the whole, in this case, the back of the guitar in this up and down motion, top to bottom, in this direction. And the reason I'm doing that is because my next pass that I'm going to do with the will be the 800 grit. I'm going to be going in this direction. Now, I talk a lot about this in a previous video. It was actually another black Telecaster style body in the Stagg SET CST series, where I did a lot of wet sanding and polishing on that particular body. So if you want to learn more about that technique, you can go check that video out. But just to quickly recap what I'm doing, by going in this opposite direction from the previous pass with the 600 grit, I'm creating scratches that are opposite to the directions that the scratches for the 600 grit have left. Now, you can kind of see it in this video on this shot here from about the ferrules in this particular line of the guitar this way is 800 grit. Now you may be able, you can kind of see it in the video. It's a little lighter in color. And if I zoom in, you might be able to see the actual lines. Yeah, you can kind of see them there. A little hard to see, but the lines are moving left to right. Now, if you move over here, This is the 600 grit section of the body. You can see the lines are moving up and down. Now, the reason you do that, or why I would recommend you do that, is when you're sanding, you want to make sure you're removing the scratches from your previous sanding that you've done on the body already, right? So if I've gone like this with the 600, now I'm going like this with the 800. If I still see scratches going up and down, well, then I know I haven't removed enough with the 800 to get all the scratches from the 600 out. Now, that's a little trick I learned from another YouTuber that I like to watch. His name is Chris, and his channel is Highline Guitars. And that's a little trick I learned from him, and I've used it ever since. And it's actually really good to help you see exactly what you're doing when it comes to sanding. This is a Relic looking guitar, and I'm not really going to sweat little imperfections because the whole point is to make it look like a used guitar. So we got a little bit of leeway for error here. We're going to be a little more forgiving on my own work in this case. Like for example, I'll show you the side here. This is the top of the guitar looking down if you were playing it. So you can sort of see here, there's a couple of marks, and over here, you can kind of see them in the light. I'm not sure if that's coming through there. There you go. You can sort of see them here. They almost look like wet spots, like somebody wiped some rag or something on there that's wet. They're not wet, they're dry. What that is when I was sanding this section of the body, I never got 100% of the finish off, and that is some of the leftover poly that's on there. It's not 100% sanded like it is back here, for example. Okay, now you can keep going if you want to try and remove all that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to be careful in doing the sides of the body because of these edges. In this case, we've already removed the paint off the top edge here, which was intentional, and here as well, right? Because we're looking for that Relic look. This little mark here was, I don't think I did that. That was probably an accident when I was sanding. But again, I'm not worrying about that. And actually, I'm not worrying about this either because I think that looks kind of cool. It looks like it's a used played guitar, like someone's been playing this for a while. It's got some stains and marks and stuff on it just from being used. And same thing on the bottom half of the body. We got similar marks. Now, normally I would be more careful and thorough when sanding these types of things. You want to have a nice surface before you move on, because if you move on to an 800 grit with these little blemishes on here like this, you'll take some of them out, but you'll never get them all out. And the further up in grits you go, the harder of a time you're going to have, and it'll get to the point where you're going to have to go back to the 600, go through the process again if you want to try and remove those marks. But in this case, we're not doing that. I'm not going to do that. And those little marks appear throughout the body. These little, I don't know what to call them, blemish marks, I guess is what they are. And I'm not really going to worry about it too much. I think it adds to the look of the guitar. So that's where we're at. And I did all this off camera because I was doing some experiments on the back. I wasn't sure if I was going to start with 600 or 800. I decided to go with 600, and I think that was the right choice. So we've got 800 on the bottom, or on the side here, is done. I still need to do this section of the body with the 800, and I'll continue in this motion. And then the next step will be move up to 1,000 grit, and then we're going to go back to the up and down motion like this. For the same reason, we're making sure we're going to remove those scratches, and that's a good visual way to see it. Now I'm doing all this with wet sanding. You can do it dry sanding if you like. It's just going to be a little messier, and you're going to go through more sandpaper. I like wet sanding because I can do it in the basement. It's not as messy and it's not as dusty. And I don't know, I just kind of prefer it. Yeah, I'm just using regular wet dry sandpaper. And speaking of the wet dry sandpaper, I'll just move you over here. I've got two containers I'm using. And this bigger one here is just holding the larger pieces of the sandpaper, and I use them with a larger sanding block. And then these smaller ones I use on a smaller sanding block. And I'll just show you real quick here. I've been soaking these sandpapers in here I guess I had them in there for almost a week before I actually started the wet sanding process. But I cut up a whole bunch of grits. I started at 600 and I went up to, I think it was 1500, because I wasn't sure where I was going to stop on this guitar. So I figured I'd just play it safe and go up to 1500 and soak them all. And the same thing in the smaller container. They're just a smaller piece of the sandpaper. So with these larger pieces, like this is a piece of 800 grit, all I'm going to do is wrap it around the block like so, and then I just hold it just like that. And then I would, do my sanding like that. And then if I need to go more around the edges or areas where I'm a little concerned of burning through the paint, I'll flip it over and just use the white side because it's got a little softer surface, a little more forgiving. The blue surface is a little tougher, and you don't want to be going through the paint. But again, if I do, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of the look I'm going for. So back to the guitar. So we've got all the 600 grits pretty much done. The only thing I didn't do was the edges of the guitar. So if you can kind of see in the light, there's a bit of a shine on the edge still. That was because I used the block and I was just going like this. I didn't go and do the edges. I did the sides, but not the edges, because even with 600 grit, you run the risk of burning through that paint pretty quick. So I thought I'm going to leave that and I'm going to hit it with the 800 instead. And I'll do a little test, on the side here just to make sure it's going to remove that shine. And that's all I want to do is just take that shine off so it has that matte kind of a finish to it. And then I'll do the same when I move up to the 1000 grit. I'll do the whole body and I'll do the same thing around the edges for the same reason, just gently taking that shine off. So once I get the 1000 grit done, I'll probably just focus on the back because I have a nice large surface area to work with here so I can see it a lot better. And once I'm done with that, the 1000 grit, I'll kind of reassess and see how it looks, because I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to do anything as far as a top coat on here with a clear. I was originally going to spray a matte clear coat on, but I'm thinking I might just leave it the way it is right now, like after I'm done sanding. My only concern is how it'll wear, because there is still some poly on here. I've just removed the shine, right? This isn't paint. It's still got a poly, then the paint is underneath it. So I still have some room to work. The paint will still be protected. It'll be more subjective to, finger marks and stuff like that. Like if you press really hard with your thumb or whatever, I don't know if that's showing up. It leaves a little mark. It disappears, but over time it'll build up, with the oils in your fingers and stuff. But again, I'm not really going to worry about that too much. So I think it'll add to the look of the guitar. So that being said, I'm going to reassess it after I do 1000 grit, and I'll again do the same thing on the front. I have to be careful about the exposed wood sections. I did a little test up here and it seemed to be okay. The wet sanding did not raise the grain at all. So that tells me I didn't go through my boiled linseed oil finish that I applied on here. So I just have to be careful. I don't want to burn through that and expose the wood. I mean, if I do, I can just reapply some boiled linseed oil again, but I'm trying to avoid doing that. So that's my plan for right now. I think if this matte finish idea that I have is not going to work, like for whatever the reason, I can always come back and spray it with some clear. It's not the end of the world. Just got to take it all apart again and shoot it with some matte clear coat, which is something I would probably do in the fall because it is really hot and humid right now. Today's not so bad, but we're mid-July right at the time of this recording, and it's really, really hot and humid, and I'm going to be doing this kind of stuff in the garage. And yeah, it's not ideal conditions for spray painting. So if I do decide to spray the matte on, it won't be till the fall. But if I end up doing that, I'll just make a supplementary video and just add it to the playlist. And that's kind of my plan. Like if I make changes or stuff like that, I'll just add it to the playlist and keep everyone updated as to what the status of the guitar is. And you can see in the center here, this is the original finish in the middle. I didn't really worry about it too much because the pickguard is going to cover all that. So I don't really care too much about that. So that's where we're at. So yeah, I'm going to flip it back over, carry on with the 800 grit. I'll film a little bit of it just to show you, but I'm not going to film the whole thing because it's pretty boring. So I'll film little bits, I'll speed it up, and just sort of keep you updated as we go. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I've sanded the body in the middle here now, and I did a little overlap from my previous sanding here, roughly in this area here. So you want to make sure you go over top of that so everything blends nicely, right? And I got a little spray bottle here as well, which I use to keep the surface damp. And you can also just shoot a little water on your sandpaper if you're finding it's a little too dry. And just working the flat surface area. I'm not worrying too much about the belly carve at the moment. I'll probably do that with the white section with the smaller piece of sandpaper, and then I'll gently do it by hand because it is kind of curvy and a little hard to get in there with these blocks. So once I've done that for a bit, I'll just take a clean rag and wipe off the water. And in my water bottle that I have here, I also have a little bit of just regular dish soap. I just use Dawn. Any dish soap will probably work, but this is the stuff I usually use. And I just put a drop in the bottle itself, and it acts as a lubricant. It's a common trick for wet sanding. So it's dry now, and I can see I can see the new marks I've left here. And what you want to do is get your body or your surface under a good light, and just kind of move it around like this. And I can still see some of the marks from the 600. Not as bad as before, but they're still there. And I can still see there's a few areas here that I got to go over again just to blend everything. So I'm just going to carry on doing that. I'll get the whole back of the guitar done, and then we'll see what it looks like. And move on to the 1000 grit once I'm happy with what we've accomplished here. So I'm probably not going to film all this. Like I say, it's kind of boring. So I'll just kind of update you as we go. I've finished wet sanding the guitar, and I've gone through the 800 grit and up to the 1000 grit on the front, back, and the sides of the guitar. So the whole guitar is done now, and came out pretty good. I'm happy with how it looks. It's nice and smooth. You can still see some of the sanding lines and the marks, which is normal. And again, it's part of the look that I'm going for here. And just moving the guitar around and doing the wet sanding and stuff, it's already starting to develop a few, wear marks, I guess, for lack of a better word. I'm hoping this will show up on the camera here. Right about here and here, there are two little lines. Let me zoom you in a bit better here. There you go. So you can kind of see them there. They look like, well, just like they look like a scratch. It's not a scratch. Well, I guess it is a scratch, but it's not like a deep scratch into the paint or anything. And that I'm not even sure what that was from. It could have been from my fingernail, or might have been from something on the bench that maybe roughed up that surface a bit. But that's kind of what I was thinking was going to happen over time, with it being played and picked up, put back down, put in a case, just normal wear and tear, everyday use that a guitar would see. And I'm seeing some of those same kind of marks are on the back. It's a bit dirty. I got to wipe it off, but again, I'm not sure if that's going to show, but there's one here. There's a couple back here, a couple of larger ones up here. And yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'm hoping that over time that will, add to the Relic look of the guitar. So my plan right now is, I'm still on the fence about spraying a matte clear coat over this, but for right now, I've decided I'm just gonna leave it as it is. I'm gonna stop at the 1000 grit. Going much further, I don't think is going to accomplish much. And if I do need to respray this in the fall, I'm likely going to have to hit it again with 800 or maybe 600 grit to rough that surface up enough for the clear coat to adhere to the body. But my plan is to leave it for now. Let's see how it unfolds and how it wears. And if I'm happy with it, I'll just leave it. And if not, I will spray it. No big deal. And with the mat on there, I think it'll look just as good, and it will add more protection to it over time. But I am curious to see how the black surface especially will wear just with normal everyday use and playing and stuff. And I was going to shield the cavities and put some shielding on the pick guard. I'm going to wait to do that. I want to hear how it sounds. I mean, we're going to get that normal single coil humming that is, you know, to be expected with a single coil pickup. But I'll see how bad it is. And I think in the fall, if I do decide to respray it, I'll respray the guitar first. Then I'll shield the cavities and the pick guard and stuff. And if I decide to not spray it, I will still shield this, a couple of months. You know, when I go to maybe the strings will need a change, I'll take all the strings off and I'll shield the guitar then, and I'll film it all and I'll just add it to the playlist. Like I said earlier, any changes, updates, or modifications will just always get added to the playlist of whatever the guitar in question is being talked about. So I think that'll probably do it for the wet sanding video on this guitar for now, anyway. Give you one kind of last look at it. Not much to see really. No hardware or anything on there. It's just the body. But yeah, it looks it's starting to take shape. I think it'll look okay when it's all done. So that should do it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.